Welcome to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore with senior style icon Teddy Crockman
and Andy Warhol's daughter, Melissa Pierce, who has a whole new, she's taken boho chic to a new level, girlfriend, a new
great.
level. I'm liking it, but I still like your natural red hair much
Oh, don't
better.
tell anyone. They would never figure out it was
No,
me.
right. That looks totally like your
Wait, but who's our guest?
If you will allow me, I
will.
will introduce our guest, Erica Severson. Erica is originally from Milwaukee and transplanted herself to Chicago about a decade ago. She began her career as a model and a stylist and transitioned to a career in the military, eventually moving to event planning, marketing, branding, and social media storytelling. Erica believes that fashion tells a story, whether in a military uniform or a couture gown. She believes how you wear it speaks volumes. Her ultimate mission is to uplift and empower others, whether through mentoring, networking, or building brands that leave an impact. Welcome, Erica, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you here, too. I remember we met at a Curio holiday event about a year or so ago. Yeah,
that's right.
And we've kind of run into each other in between time. And I just thought that your
Great.
story was so interesting, so we kind of wanted to focus in on your career past and present and your thoughts about fashion. So the first question I would have, because you're such a fashionista, I see you at all the fashion events.
I try.
Is whatever made you decide to join the military, being such a fashion-focused person?
I know, right? I was originally in like the event modeling and stylist world. And I was looking for something more substantial and more in the marketing realm. And while I was a stylist at BB and doing a lot of modeling and events, it came up to look into the National Guard because of their education benefits. I just graduated college. They had a repayment program available, and it sounded really interesting.
What was it? Just out of curiosity, what was your undergraduate major?
Yeah, that my bachelor's was in sociology and criminal justice.
Oh.
So I had this background of wanting to help people give
Okay.
back, and I thought, going into that background would help, and I did an internship with social services.
Okay.
So I was doing, a lot of stylist and event and modeling while, trying to get more
Exploring that.
Yeah, trying to get more into that, but I just got more into the stylist and event world. But that kind of, brought it full circle, looking into the military, and then I looked into the Army National Guard, and when I realized I could do both, I could have a civilian career,
Right.
I could also have a military career, I could use some of my bachelor's and give back. So that is how it came about. I was exploring more career paths, like how to help with some education benefits, and I looked into it, and it was really interested me, and I ended up enlisting. I was actually still working as a stylist, and when I went to basic training.
Wow.
I was getting.
So that's completely two different worlds. One where everything has to be picture perfect, and the other world where you're digging in the dirt and do the push-ups 30 times private.
But it also has to be picture perfect.
That's
in a
true, I was
very
gonna say
different
that.
way.
Well, only you would think of that, Miss Brilliant. Yes, of course.
Oh, my father was a drill sergeant, so I know
Yeah.
exactly
Oh my
how
God.
You're talking
much
to
you
an
have
Army
be.
brat here.
Yeah.
She's an Army brat.
I was a drill sergeant too.
Oh, good heavens, yes. Yes, you know about the perfection
Yeah.
then. And that really served all sides of you then. Or all sides that you've told us about, really.
It did. It touched on being able to give back to my community, help other people, and I also got to have a career path in event planning, which is still helping people. I liked helping people connect, plan great events for their social life or for their corporate event.
Well, let me just stop you there for a sec. So you're originally from Wisconsin, so you're cheesehead.
Yes.
Came down
All
to
the way.
Chicagoland area, had a background in modeling and styling, part-time military,
Yep.
come to Chicago, and go into event planning.
Yeah.
So instead of I would think, if you're staying in the realm of fashion, when you transition to Chicago, it would have been more towards the styling or the modeling. So I know you said you like to, help people and do things for people. What particularly attracted you to event planning? Because event planning is now an entirely different world than modeling, styling, or certainly the military. So what made you focus on event planning when you came to the Chicagoland area?
So I was always modeling at events and being at these cool
Okay, so you were
events.
kind of at corporate event modeling type of thing?
Yeah, a lot of brand modeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of brand modeling. So being at these different events, these brand launch events, these new product launch events, and being a brand model or representing that brand or interacting with the crowd, I was like, this is fun. I like that. People are coming together, they're learning about things, they're finding something that they enjoy or like or could, benefit them. And I realized I really just liked that part of the world too.
Okay. But that in and of itself, I would think an event planner takes a whole different skill set. I would imagine, and I've never been an event. Well, I shouldn't say I've planned events, but I've never been a professional event planner. My background originally was in hospital marketing. Actually, I was a social worker. But anyway, fast forward, did hospital marketing and did plan events. And it's very rigorous. I mean, everything from A to Z has to be covered, from the guest list, the invitations, to how the look of the event is going to be, the food, entertainment, if there's going to be. So that's a whole different skill set. What would you say in your life prepared you for that?
I think it is probably growing up with a big family and always having that family-centered lifestyle around holidays, around Sundays, around food. I think it just was always seeing other people happy around them, and then moving on into the brand ambassador event world and being around that again and just seeing a reason to bring people together. Yeah. So I expanded on more of a passion for it with my background of sociology and moved into it and kept building on it. Okay. And I guess I just kind of winged it and got lucky, found the right niche and kept learning. I just did not lose a chance to learn how to build a new skill, how to add on to it. So I got onto the more sales sides of event planning.
Okay. And then what? Okay, so then you have a very interesting career path. So then you moved more into social media.
Which makes sense from sales.
Kinds of things.
Yeah, it naturally evolved. As social media was becoming more of a channel and a bigger channel outside of radio, outside of magazine, it just kind of evolved naturally, and my peak kept naturally going towards that both. And I was at London House, and I was catering and event manager there. And I was networking all the time, so I would go to a lot of the different neighborhood events, like Gold Coast, the Magnificent Mile Association. Yeah. And I just kept networking.
Would you say you're a natural networker, or is this something you push yourself to do?
A little bit. I think I'm a natural people person and brand ambassador. And when I was at London House, I was always representing the brand, and the way I looked at it in event sales, anybody could be my new client. Everybody at some point needs event space or a place to host. So I just really believed in the power of connection, networking, and building community. So I guess it kind of did come naturally. It just kept evolving from wanting to help people to being a brand ambassador to being an event planner, and then going out. And I got recruited by Modern Luxury, so I worked in the advertising side of event planning and sales.
What is Modern Luxury? Can you?
They are the media company for CS Magazine and Michigan Now Magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard of that before. So
They're the media umbrella company that owns
Right, Chicago Scene, or is it still called Chicago Scene? Dang.
Chicago Socials.
Chicago Social. It's been a while.
So are those magazines?
Those are Chicago magazines.
I've lived in Chicagoland area all my life. The only Chicago magazine I know is Chicago Magazine. Is Chicago Magazine even around anymore? That was used to be a big one. I used to get Chicago Magazine quite a bit. So you went to event planning, social media marketing, which is kind of your niche right now. I see you at a lot, even ones that I haven't attended. I see you almost weekly at some kind of fashion event. So tell me how you kept involved in the fashion world and why.
It was always a passion and interest, being able to dress up and express myself that way.
And you do dress really nicely. You have some beautiful outfits.
After you answer this question, you have to tell us about how you had your cape custom made.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful. And you'll see on our when you watch or listen to the podcast, we've taken a picture of the three of us, so you'll see all of Erica's outfit in that picture.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. I stayed into the fashion scene by just going myself at first, reaching out and just finding these different events to go to. That was kind of the first part. And once I found really great connections, like at Curio, became a member, stayed involved, networking. This all happened just very organically, in like a layered way. I focused a lot on expressing myself even more in fashion after I retired from the military in 2023. It was an ability to finally just not care about how I overdressed at all.
Oh, I love that.
Versus I felt in the military, I always kind of had to balance that.
Yes.
Versus like being too overdressed, being too much.
You can't show off too much, right?
A little bit.
You need to look more quote unquote serious.
A little, yeah. It kind of felt that way.
Right. Yeah. You can't be too
or
flamboyant.
corporatist.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way I felt.
You can't be too flamboyant. That's
when I was in the hospital, I stuck out like a sore thumb, because, we have mainly nurses and doctors who aren't dressing up. But then, you do have executives like I was, but I was always told, Teddy, you stand out just a little bit too much. You just need to tone it down just a little too much. And here I come with my big earrings and, so I kind of understand that feeling where you can kind of finally now be you.
Exactly.
And nothing is considered over the top in the fashion world. In fact, the more over the top, the more you're celebrated.
It's so great. Yeah, you really are. I was able to channel that passion and really just put more effort into it, and it was good healing. It was a good healing thing while I was transitioning out of the military and just naturally finding the fashion community more.
Right, so here you are, you've collected all these skills, you are a great networker, you collected all of these people.
Yeah,
she's collected people.
She's collected,
she's a people collector.
The people collector, she's a networker,
she's
right?
She's a networker.
She knows them. She's
marketer is a
natural
networker.
Community connector. So, and then she's collected these skills, and then finally you're like, I'm coming out. So you're in this process of coming out. Tell us, what are you excited about right now?
I'm really excited that I'm going to be able to use my Army benefits. I enlisted after college, so I didn't, go through that process of enlisting for college. Yeah. And the benefits were always going to be there for me, and I just assumed I wouldn't use my school benefits as I already had a bachelor's degree, even though I'm not actively using it as much, or at least in that subject that I studied. So I'm really excited that I'm going to go back now and be able to use my Army benefits for school and start a new career path and add on to what I've been doing.
So are you going for a second bachelor's? Are you going to go for a master's? Do you know?
Probably both.
Holy crap.
At the same time?
That's some commitment.
Probably we'll see what the programs I pick and what they require. But I'm looking at programs in public relations realm, and
Okay.
I would love to get my master's in that. If I have to add on to a bachelor's to extend that career into a master's.
I see
open
what
to
you're
that.
saying. So you might have to pick
yeah.
up a few classes
Right.
in order to qualify for the master's.
Might have to, yeah.
You'll have to pick up some communications classes. I
Definitely.
mean, there's so
That'll be
much
so
overlap
great.
with sociology and communications. You'll just get communications and then go.
That would be so great.
Oh, that's so great. So
yeah.
you're interested in PR, but you're already doing that. So you're just like,
Well,
oh,
she's
I wanna-
add
like her
on
own
to
PR machine.
Exactly. One person PR machine.
I want Erica to be my public relations person.
Right.
But I can't.
Erica Severson, PR. She's just got one card.
Yeah.
You know exactly who she is.
Instead of private eye, PR.
Exactly.
She's the PR.
I was a private investigator.
Oh no! Get out of here!
No.
Get
I
out
was
of
a licensed
No.
private investigator.
When did
in-
you do that? Now you got to tell us about that. A private investigator. Oh my God!
Also, how do you get licensed to do this? Wait,
The
how do you-
military, modeling, styling, event planning, social event media manager, and now private detective.
Right. She contains multitudes. Move over, poet.
Yeah,
You-
it was.
That Erica-
Man, you guys
Yeah.
make me feel so boring. I was in the same goddamn career for 30 years, and you're like, whoop, 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 and I do this.
now you're
Tell
on
us about
Instagram
the
and-
private eye stuff.
Yeah, now we want to know.
While I was in college and I declared my bachelor's in sociology and criminal justice, I originally thought I was going to be a police officer before social
Oh, that makes
services.
sense for your
Right.
life for the military.
While
too.
I was in college, I got a job at a security company, and they did a lot of loss prevention. And if I got a license in private investigating, which is from the state, the same license you go to get, a real estate license.
Right, right.
I had to go and study.
you have to
this
take
big
tests
book.
of some
Yeah,
kind?
I had to take this big book and
How to
study.
creep up on people and take mystery pictures.
All the legalities of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so I worked for a security company mainly in loss prevention at retail stores.
That's true.
Wow.
So she's picking up the shoplifters.
Right.
Here's Erica.
Right.
I see you
Do I
taking
look like
that
it?
thing.
No, but
I
did I
see
catch
you,
you,
sweetheart.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's
They had
perfect.
no clue. I just looked like a little shopper.
Well, yeah.
I wore, when you have your detective's license, you can wear civilian clothing. If you don't, and you're working in loss prevention, you have to wear a uniform.
Yeah.
So I was going around
So you were
undetected.
plain clothes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I at one point was even at loss prevention for H&M.
You gotta be.
wow.
Was there a lot of theft over there?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you figure it attracts a younger crowd who can't afford even the inexpensive stuff. So one here and one in the pocket, kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah.
There's a whole thing.
I was a
Yeah.
manager in a mall, and so there was just a certain number of.
You were a
loss-
manager in a mall.
When I went to college the first time in my early
You
20s,
people
I
are
managed
something
a
else. And
there's a loss
jewelry
pre-
store.
yeah, and there's
and
a-
like Gadzooks.
Oh,
I managed
Gadzooks!
I managed a
So
Gadzooks
great.
in a casual corner.
Get out of here! I never
That's
heard of
pretty good.
Gadzooks. I've heard of Casual Corner.
Sure. Well, we had
I
a lot
did
of
shop
loss
there a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And you used to have loss prevention codes, right? And phrases you'd have to call over at security. Yeah.
We did, yeah. Although we never, we never prosecuted because the theft was
You just
so
want it
small.
back.
It had to be like a big purchase.
So now let me ask you this. Okay, so when
Yeah.
you caught these poor people, I feel sorry, these poor little shoplifters. Did you like drag them in with handcuffs?
Oh,
did
yeah,
you
what
say
did you do?
you're busted? What did you do?
I was like, I had to know what they took, where they put it. So I would, I'd explain,
open that purse of yours.
you concealed X, Y, Z right there. I need to see it. And they're usually just shocked. And can you just come back because we just have to write a report on it, and then it's up to the store if they call the police.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they just
Yeah.
want
Oh.
it back, write a report, and they make a notice, and you're not allowed in the store anymore,
didn't-
or they call the police.
You didn't have like a catchphrase when you caught someone? Like, Erica.
I should have.
Right? Oh, I got you.
You've been Severson.
Severson PR.
You've been Severson.
They're mostly just so shocked. They're like,
Well, Well, yeah.
And they just go along with it, and then by the time they realize they
Now
probably
let me ask you this. So,
could've left.
would you say that, just out of curiosity, would you say that they kind of let the teens go and the older ones they prosecuted, or did they prosecute the younger ones? Just out of just out of my own
I think it
curiosity.
has to hit a dollar amount before anybody.
That's what
Is
it
that
really
what it was?
Yeah.
It was just the dollar
It
amount?
wasn't really like the type of person. It was like how much they stole and what.
Oh,
It's like
so like if they took a $10 tap, they're probably not going to send them to the Hooskow.
no,
They could write a report.
yeah, they just want it back.
Okay.
It had to be over a certain
Right.
amount.
Although
Now at H&M, you could steal a good bag of clothes and not hit 500
Like,
bucks.
right.
Yeah, that was
right.
frustrating thing. They might have like 5 things. It was like $20. They're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know at some stores now they just watch to see. They'll watch what you steal. We'll wait.
Calling Erica Severson,
PI.
PI.
Right. They
Private eye on the spot. She's
yeah,
gonna
they
go-
just watch what you steal, and once you get up to that with your multiple visits to the store, then they go for you.
Okay, so
yeah,
they
my
take
son
your name
watched
down and
security,
keep you like a
yeah.
list or something.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that same face just stole a television. Well, that puts her over the 6,000 or 600
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
yeah, it all depends on
Yeah.
the store and what they
Yeah.
want to do. So that actually being, a licensed private detective in loss prevention actually led me into working for BB. And I was working loss prevention at BB
Okay.
for a while.
And then you started doing the modeling and
I
stuff.
started helping like with all of their deterring and like their numbers went down in stealing, but I was also like under, I was like posing as a salesperson. So,
Yeah.
and I still had great numbers selling. And my
Yeah.
boss was like, like you really helped with, like deterring this. And now now that we got the numbers down, we just need like a presence there to scare people away.
but
Do
you're
you want to
not-
be in the
yeah, but
sales?
But you're not scary,
So they
Erica.
hired
You're
a
too cute
regular.
for that.
So they hired a regular security
okay.
person. Then I transferred into stylist.
Okay.
That's it. They were like, you're too beautiful to be a PI, but you're still kind of scary because you're so observant.
Yeah, how is she going to scare? I mean, come
Right.
on. You'd go.
Well, you have to be super observant of human nature. And
Yeah.
so no wonder sociology, no wonder like PR, no wonder social media, getting to know people.
Connects, right?
You're like looking for the connections, you're looking for the behaviors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I take all of that into like now building a community, like you said,
Yeah.
to connect people, build a community.
Right.
If I can help them and connect in a way that benefits each other,
Yes.
like I'm going to do it.
Right.
And
Well, public
yeah.
relations seems to be almost like a natural flow for you because like so many people now, I would imagine, in the fashion
Yeah.
community. Like I said, I see
It's
you
really
all the
great
time on
meeting
Instagram.
everyone.
You're like at every event, and being such a connector that you are, you have almost like a natural client base.
Oh, right. Well, wait. Do you have any tips for our listeners on how to grow their social
Yes.
media or what things they can't all go out and be PIs and have your
You know.
journeys? So what are some like
Start as a PI.
starting from here? Like, what are some tips like
To
how
grow their
do-
social media.
How to start that, like growing that community? Like, what are
So I think besides the usual that you're going to hear with the consistency, which is really important.
Yeah.
And
And when you say consistency, because I read so many different things, Erica, online about, how many times a week you should post. Some
Same.
say 3 days a week. Some say
Yeah.
5. Some say every single day. Some say stay away from the weekends. They're terrible. So what's your advice as far as just even a posting schedule?
I think as long as you're posting something weekly and authentic and very,
Interesting.
yeah, that's fine.
Because
And
it's
you build
hard to
up
stay
that.
interesting. It's hard to stay interesting all the time.
It's hard to get good content for your interesting
Yes.
stuff.
and I see people all the time that I follow, and I mean really good influencers, and I have to tell you the truth, and I bore myself. I get bored with my own videos. It's like,
Same.
all right, if I'm bored, everybody else that's watching me has got to be bored. But I also get bored with other influencers who are doing fabulous, but it's like they keep posting the same crap. They're just in a different outfit all the time. So how would you suggest, as far as the editing of the video, what do you think is more eye-catching now, as far as, because it's the first 3 seconds that you've got to grab them,
Right.
and if you don't, and I've learned that from TikTok because I just started on TikTok recently. If you don't grab them like within the first 3 seconds, they're off into the next video. So what would you say are the kind of grabbers that you would give advice to the listeners about as far as creating, because some people I know go more with stagnant posts, some are more reels people. I tend to be more of a reels focused person, because I feel like I can only pose in my living room just so much.
Wait, everyone needs to watch this space for a sticker that says same crap, different outfit.
Really?
By the way.
So it is. It's
yeah,
really
it's so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a big grabber that you're talking about, or attention catcher, is going to vary per the
viewers. Yeah.
Vary per the app. Instagram grabbing is going to be a lot more of now, like the mix of the static with the videos.
Now you're seeing static on TikTok, because I've only seen
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
I think that seems to be like
Yeah.
the evolving popularity post of
There's
having
some static, some
Right,
videos
because I
mixed
won't
in.
follow people if they only have reels. I want to see
mix.
I don't want to see a mix. I want to see photographs. I want to
Yeah.
see like a setup.
Yeah.
It's still more aesthetic, and I think the consistency on Instagram, meaning how often you're posting every week, I think that gives you a longer reach with possibly more, followers to follow, hopefully.
Yeah.
And not always as big of a like
Yeah.
for each post.
Right.
So you're seeing
That's-
it reaches further, but it doesn't necessarily get the numbers of likes.
Not depending on your account. I'd say on TikTok, it's more talking, like come follow me, like actually talking about what your experience was that you're taking the pictures at. I think the authenticity and the voice and more personalized, like reels and TikToks is like the trend on there.
Yeah.
So it really depends which app you want to grow or focus on.
Okay, does fashion, does YouTube matter anymore for that?
It does. People are still connecting like their TikToks and their podcasts like onto YouTube and
Good thing we're there.
Our YouTube is our podcast.
I'd say another fun, easy way to expand your social media presence is, asking brands that reach out to you. Say like, you have a brand that's like you tagged them. We love that you tagged our dress or our outfit. Would you mind if we reshared it? I'd say using that as a opportunity to be like, hey, can you collab with me?
Right.
It doesn't hurt to ask, but that collab from them, not just besides the tag, is going to give you a bigger reach and hopefully more followers. So I think taking that opportunity more when brands reach out, want to repost your picture, your story, like asking them for a collab.
Like a future collab or a collab on that one.
When they post that one, like when they want to repost it on their site. And use one of their pictures, if they would do a collab.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's like the function of Instagram, not a collab, like let's make something together, but it's that function.
That's what I meant, is like the function.
Like how I invite you to be a collaborator with my
collaborator on the post.
Yeah, I was just making sure. I was like, is this a business thing or is this an Instagram specific function?
It could be both, but the Instagram, I meant on the Instagram function
on
side.
the Instagram function. Yeah,
and
that's
especially for people that are just starting out on Instagram, that's a great way to get noticed by brands. The more you're on Instagram, the longer you're on Instagram, usually 50,000 is the hallmark followers and up. You'll have brands come to you then. I have brands every day coming to me.
So good.
And half of them I don't even take because either they don't want to pay me or I don't like their aesthetic, their clothes or whatever. So there's certain hallmarks. But the one thing that Erica was talking about, once you are established and vendors, reach out to you, what they can offer sometimes not only is monetary reimbursement, which is always important, but they'll ask for a white list. And that is where you do a collab, but they also pay for an ad. You get like an actual ad number from Instagram.
Yes.
And what they'll do is they'll post it up, and they pay a lot of money for that.
When they boost it.
And I've gotten, like one brand I did was an exercise brand. They did a whitelist on one of my ads, and it got like over 100,000 views. But they pay for that, But it also boosts your
and you're getting more reach,
right? You get much more reach,
money, and build those connections.
Right.
That's so great.
So I'd say don't be afraid if they ask to repost your content to ask if they would collab it on top of on
Right.
top
On
of
top of the
taking
repost,
it.
yeah. Make sure to tag me in it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And to that extent, the more reach you're going to get is if you keep, you keep taking these
Yeah.
brands. So even when you're at an event and you see, other brands there representing themselves and you're sharing it, take all of them. They'll
Yeah.
repost it.
Right.
Your profile will come up, and
Right.
even just from story reposts, I get random new followers, and it's just from not being shy about sharing the brand for them
Right.
at the events you're at, and
Right.
taking them.
Because they may eventually reach back out to you and pay you for something as well too. So
not
that's
me.
always a good tip for all of our viewers out there who are budding Instagrammers or TikTokers or whatever. Erica knows her stuff, I'm telling you.
Give her a call. Get the PI.
Absolutely.
Get the PI card.
So before we go
The
into
PIPR.
our more fashion specific focused questions, Erica, one of the questions I had down to ask you, and I think you've partially answered it, is where do you see yourself being in 10 years with your career? Because it's been so eclectic, and now you're talking about, maybe focusing in on public relations. Let's pretend you go into public relations. Where do you see yourself in public relations in the next 10 years? Do you have a certain kind of clientele you want to focus on? Do you want to work for a company? Do you want to be a, entrepreneur? Kind of where are you at with your fashion focused, maybe not fashion focused PR?
I think in the PR realm, I would love to maybe work as like an executive director or marketing director for like a nonprofit fashion here, like a nonprofit fashion effort. Or I might even explore like public affairs at the Veterans Association.
Oh.
It could go either way. We'll
If
see
it
kind of
still
how it evolves.
exists in 10 years.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, honest to God.
So I think I'd probably still maybe stick on the nonprofit side and see where I can help others, like really bring that message out so that they can continue to help their organization.
Yeah.
And if that be on the fashion side, that'd be even better.
Right. Well, it's so interesting because you're such a people person, and you combine that with your fashion, and now you're kind of moving it into the part that I think you're the best at, and that's you're great at. I don't want to make this sound crisp, promoting yourself, showing yourself, whatever. But you're also probably very good at promoting others.
Definitely.
I think you would do fabulous in that job. So
Thank you.
just in my own estimation, I think you're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. And then after I get to expand into public relations and finish my degree in that, I want to use the other part of my Army benefits. There's a couple different programs you can use, and I want to go back to school to learn how to sew. And I want to make my own fashion accessories in the future. So that'll be like a side, passion.
So we're going to
project
have
that I'll
like
build.
Erica's purse party.
Yes, I will.
All right, wait a minute. Now,
Erica's-
are you guys Sex and the City fans? Are you
Oh,
Sex and the City? Okay.
absolutely.
Do you remember when there was an episode on
She broke
with
up with
Jennifer
her?
Coolidge,
Yes.
and she had a purse party where she was glue gunning all these purses together?
from her like old clothes.
Yes, from her
and
old
from
cut
her
up
old-
clothes.
Yeah, from
and
her,
she had this purse party, and she had these obnoxiously loud,
Yes, I
dingle
remember that.
balls and things on the purse.
It was very eccentric.
So are we going to have an Erica's purse party?
It will be chic, like with very chic, fun.
Erica's
Erica-
chic purse
accessories.
party.
Erica Severson, PI, PR, and purses. Listen, hire me for your branding.
I love
babe.
it.
I'm sorry.
I love alliteration, so that works.
She's
It
very
does.
good. She's very good. Well, she was a marketer too.
You get it.
I get
Yeah,
it.
she's a
I get
marketer
it.
too.
All right, you have to tell us about this.
Yes.
I had this custom made. I wanted to expand my suit look. I love a good suit, and there's so many different blazer styles.
Yes.
And I really, really liked the idea of having like a feminine cape versus a blazer. Mm-hmm. And I took inspiration from some online outfits that I've seen with capes
with
and
capes.
combined it into a suit, and I had this made.
Right,
So-
because it's basically a suit jacket, but where the sleeves
There you go.
are,
You can see Erica. Yeah, we can see you in the shot,
where
Erica.
the sleeves are. It's completely
And look at the beautiful
open.
paisley lining. That's
Right.
beautiful.
I got to pick all of this and the
and
material.
were the pants made to match
Yeah,
too?
the
Yes.
pants
Yeah,
are
because it's the
custom
same
made to
fabric.
match. Yeah.
This is so
Gorgeous.
fantastic.
Thank you.
We're
It's
in
so much
love.
fun.
We're
We
in
are.
love.
So it was a expansion. It was one of my first investment pieces and one of my first custom made pieces, and
And it fits you
Yeah.
beautifully.
Thank
yeah.
you.
I mean, everything is in the tailoring. Like
It
I always say,
really
you can
is.
buy the cheapest outfit in the world, take it to a I can't tell you how many times
I
I've
think
done
so
this.
too, though. Yeah,
I've bought
I agree.
outfits that cost me $30, and I've spent like $150 to have them altered, and
Yeah.
it looks better than the custom
I
clothes
agree,
that I've
though.
seen.
If
I bought a suit, I remember, from, I believe it was H&M, and I had it custom tailored on me, and I wore it to
Love
an
that.
event where I actually got picked up by a modeling agency that ultimately dropped me.
That's right.
That was the Instagram. But they thought I was wearing like a $1,000 suit. That's how good it looked. And it was an H&M suit that
Yeah.
was just custom fitted to me, and it looked so good on.
That's why we're podcast buddies, because you were picked up and dropped by a modeling agency. I was picked up by a modeling agency, did one runway show, dropped off the back of the stage, and was also then dropped by the agency.
We have the
So
potential. We just haven't fulfilled it yet.
Every report card, Melissa doesn't live up to her potential.
Yeah. We have the potential. We're still looking for it. People see it in us, but for some reason, then they're like, not so much.
No, thanks. Stick to podcast.
Not so much.
They're like, thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah, we thought you would be good, but nah.
But no, thanks. But they never asked me this question, which is, what's your favorite era of fashion?
Or eras. It may be more.
It is
Uh-huh.
eras. I
Uh-oh.
have several. You've seen how I dress.
Yes.
I can be very kind of streetwear avant-garde.
Uh-huh.
I can be very preppy, corporate.
Right.
I love a little bit of all of it. I'll go from order. Favorites is like 1930s glam.
I love the 30s.
Yeah.
One of my
Got all
faves.
all the beading and like the gowns
Bias
were coming
cuts
more.
and the satin. Yeah.
The men still had like all their fitted suits. It was
Yeah.
kind of more still the
Yeah.
requirement
Hats.
to dress up.
Yeah.
The hat and glove era.
Right.
People got dressed up to go to the opera.
God, yes.
Love that era. I love a bit of boho chic from the 70s.
Everybody says that. Everybody
great.
says the 70s, and I'm
So
totally
great.
70s babe.
The belt, I still wear bell bottoms. I still love a flare
Yeah.
jean. I
They're
love.
coming back in.
They
so-
are.
They are. Platforms.
To my next one is 90s. I love.
That's another one.
I
It
grew
seems
up
like
in the
30s,
90s.
70s, and 90s.
Wow.
Think about that. It's almost, well, not many people say 50s. So if it was 30s, 50s, 70s, and 90s, we'd have every 20
Every
years.
20.
I do
Years.
love 1950s glam too.
Yeah.
When we got into like
The
Dior.
Dior.
and the more Chanel,
Yeah.
I do love the 1950s
Yeah.
glam too.
Yeah.
But the 90s.
Nine-
Which part of the 90s?
Oh man, when I think of 90s, I like the more later 90s Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren
Yes.
era, and that's when I was growing up. That was like the country club / preppy.
Yes.
look.
Yes,
More
definitely
tailored
was.
look.
Now it's like the quiet luxury look.
Yes.
Which
They
is going out.
They rebranded or renamed
Which
it.
it's going out. Quiet luxury is starting to become very loud now.
I like the loud.
Luxury
I like
is
the
becoming loud
uniqueness.
with furs and more embellishment.
Maximalism.
Yes,
Maximalism
and
is
jewelry piled on, and I love that.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
a
all for
maximalist at heart.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
like more is more. I'm like what's her name is Iris Apfel. More is more and less is a bore.
It is very.
Or Chanel would always tell you, put it all on and then look in the mirror and take one piece off.
Pusha.
Iris Apfel was look in the mirror and put one more thing on. I mean,
That's
she'd
right.
have bracelets. Very
She's so
Nancy
great.
Cunard, if you ladies
would.
follow a fashion history at all. Nancy Cunard was very rich. She was an heiress to the Cunard shipping lines. And she was known for these African bracelets that she'd wear literally like going all the way up her arms to like this. And she would and people would say, why do you wear them? She goes, I feel like kind of like what we were talking about Castle Core. It's my armor.
It's armor.
She felt it gave her strength
Right?
or something.
You know, I was thinking about this more as we talked about Castle Core a couple episodes ago. Oh, one that came out today while we're filming.
Love that.
So we were talking about Castle Core and this
that's our
protection.
episode out today.
But then I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if you dealt with them when you were a therapist. I was thinking about how, like one telltale sign that someone has like a schizophrenia is that they layer on clothes.
Yes, but
But it's
it's
for a
not
different
sheet
reason.
clothes.
No, it's not.
You know,
It's
it wouldn't
like
be like an
any-
Irish Apfel. It's
No.
like a street person who just picks up everything they find on the street
But
and
they put it on
on
because it makes them feel safe. It
It
is
is
the armor
some-
that they have.
Yeah, it is some
Yeah.
kind of a. It's more to do with the weight of the clothes.
Yes,
Have you
okay,
heard of like
yeah.
the latest thing is weighted blankets?
Right.
Is a
Certainly.
way for people to sleep with more comfort because for some reason we as human beings, when we're feeling especially fearful or anxious, you want some kind of hug or
You
and
want
so
your
if you
mom-
don't
yeah.
somebody can't hug you all the time, so you want something to feel protective.
I'm gonna-
you know, this is a protective stance when
I'm
you're
going
like
to do
this.
a maximalist line. It's going to be about swaddling all of it.
It
gonna be
is kind of the same thing, like a swaddling kind of theory. Like, yeah, the more you
Right.
have on, the more protected and padded you
see
feel
that.
and that kind of thing. Maybe that's the puffer coat trend.
Well, yeah,
You know?
it's puffer coats. It's all of these layers that we're seeing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, castle core and protection, and I was like, oh, we're
Yeah.
doing all the layers. Of course, I dressed this way all of my life.
Yes,
the
you are
maximalist.
a 70s girl at heart. You were
My-
born in the 70s and you just cannot stop dressing
My mom
70s.
would say you dress like a bag lady, but I
just-
appreciate
I
that my
lo-
time has arrived.
No, I love the way you dress. I couldn't dress the way you do because I don't have that aesthetic, but you have it down.
Right. Oh,
I think to
you're
a
much
science.
more
I am
class
just
there.
more glam.
I know you're.
I'm
glam.
glam.
I love both.
I'm old movie star.
You're
I
old
love my
movie star.
movie
It is.
star look.
You're glam, and I'm wham bam.
You're
a
wham
great
bam.
balance.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's right.
Okay, what
And you're-
song is that from?
Oh, I have
Wham
no
bam.
idea.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't know.
That's the end of a David Bowie song.
Okay.
It ends that
And
way.
Erica Severson, PI, PR, and purses.
Why do you think we've become such a casually dressed society?
Right.
Okay.
I just snapped that one out.
My experience from like coming from Wisconsin.
Were they
I-
just really casually, by the way? Come on.
I joke that I was a bit fashion deprived there. And that,
Can I ask you, what part of Wisconsin are you from? I know you probably told me a million times, but...
South Milwaukee area.
Okay, Milwaukee. So you were more a citified girl.
City,
In like
yes.
the suburbs of Milwaukee? kind of
Exactly.
thing? Okay.
City-ish. So my experience is that there it became so sports society, like sports
yeah.
team focused,
Yeah.
that became a very like main theme for socializing, and that
So like people
socializing
would wear
theme
jerseys, like Green Bay Packer
Everywhere.
jerseys.
Okay, so
It's a uniform,
It's
yeah.
like a community signifier. Then, if you're not wearing a sports ball, how do you even fit into your community?
It seems
Yeah.
like it. When I lived in Milwaukee, when I was overdressed, I would get some stares.
Yeah.
and it just was not common to let people dress up how they want to without
Steers like.
Was it
Why are
judgmental?
you dressed that way, or who do you think you are, or
Was it
steers
appreciative?
differently? Yeah.
Could have been. It was a bit of all of it.
Okay.
Even if I go back now and I wear something a little bit louder, I still get some of those same stares.
Really?
Like,
You're not from around these parts.
It was truly a fashion like culture shock coming to Chicago and girls complimenting my outfits. I was like, me? Who? Oh, hi, thank you. It was not common from my experience in Milwaukee to
be
just share,
complimented off the street by somebody.
or at an event or at the club or the bar, wherever you were socializing. It was just not common from what I experienced. And I worked at BB. I always wanted to wear my cute BB clothes
Yeah.
out. I was always, dressed loud, wearing a lot of dresses, and it was not common to dress up that as much.
Yeah.
So it was kind of opposite then. Had you been wearing, say, a jersey, someone had said, Bortles or whatever, I don't know, ball.
Spurs, Bucks,
Yeah,
go-
sports ball. But then they didn't know how to even engage with you dressed.
Yeah.
get dressed up.
Yeah, the
wild.
engagement was to like kind of make fun of it, like, oh, what's this, or what, you know,
Yeah,
and
right.
it was an attempt to socialize, but it was still at my expense.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah.
then, but in general, even in the Chicagoland area, we've noticed in the last couple decades specifically, and I know a lot of people bring up COVID, and I think COVID made it even worse. But in your estimation, Erica, why would you say we went from these very glamorous eras, like you talked about the 30s, the 50s, the 70s, even the 90s, you know, we had Tom Ford was at the top of his game at Gucci, the whole thing. Why do you think all of a sudden in the 20s, it's, you know, there's always been casual dress. Of course, you're not going to get dressed up in a ball gown to go, you know, to a pizzeria or your backyard barbecue or whatever. I mean, there's appropriate dress for everything. But it seems now, even like you said, you go to the opera. I remember when my husband and I went to the opera in the 80s, everybody was dressed to the nines. I mean, you didn't go to the opera. Now you go to the opera and there's people wearing blue jeans, carrying backpacks. They look like they're going to the zoo. What do you think why do you think that's happened?
You think
that
it's
we've
sports
just
ball?
become.
Are you going to blame the sports ball?
I think it's a mix. Why has it become so much casual in the past?
Everywhere.
Like, everywhere. In the past couple
Even
of
weddings,
decades.
you see people dressed very casually.
From my experience growing up, I think, from what I remember, there was only a few stores that were cool to shop at, and if you didn't shop at that store, those few stores, you weren't cool.
Yeah.
So that at some point we were really like honing in on uniformity and like conforming, and everybody should kind of look the same, and if you tried to dress a little different, you were
got looked
outcasted
at in a weird way.
And then that just kept evolving to what was, you know, acceptable to wear, where to shop at.
So you're saying it's more of an in-crowd, out-crowd thing than it is any sort of like a casualification. Just, you know, we don't care anymore. It's really about
So that's
the optics.
That's my first theory.
Okay.
Like, it's about a bit of the optics and what was, you know, approved to shop at. And in 90s, we grew up in a lot more of the fashion advertising. So then there's a lot more.
Right.
And think about that song. I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
That's right.
Like, then everything.
And the very sexually motivated. Was it Abercrombie and
It was
Fitch?
Abercrombie,
They had
Yes.
the really sexual looking ads. Yeah, some hot men in there.
Piled on top of, you know, sports, like the sports kind of world.
Yeah.
And I don't think it helped coming into COVID, and the uniformity then was gone. The connection was gone for certain
I
things.
think the connection definitely left.
And now there is a connection to all just dress casually versus
getting really dressed like we do at fashion events. Everybody brings it galore.
And there's been community disconnects, so people aren't feeling a reason to have to dress up when they don't feel as connected to their community.
I actually love this a lot.
You know,
I love this a lot. There's news that has come out, more research that has come out that we are the most disconnected society.
Yeah.
And that's the most lonely society.
Yes.
And now you're talking about community disconnect, and I'm like, actually, that is probably one of the better explanations.
And you know what's interesting? The two age groups that have been identified as the most disconnected are the teenagers, which you really need to worry about.
Definitely.
And elderly people. Now, the elderly people, you can kind of see it because they become I'm one of the elderly people. But when you retire from work, you're not in your work community.
Right.
You're not daily seeing people and that kind of thing. So you tend to get more disconnected.
Right.
A lot people like me who had careers for 30 years, most of my friends were in my business, you know, and some of them are still in the business because they're younger than me, so they haven't retired. And you kind of lose connection with those people. You grab onto a few people that, you know, you had real friendships with. And so that world tends to become a little bit smaller. And the less you go out in public, the less you're apt to dress. You know, I get all glammed up to go to all our fashion events and stuff like that. But if you see me in my everyday wear in the house, my hair is no makeup on, my hair's clipped up on the top of my head, and I'm typically wearing my pajamas all day long because why the hell should I put on a pair of jeans to talk to Ken?
Right.
You know, so you can kind of see where the older, more mature community gets a little bit disconnected and kind of doesn't care as much anymore. But the younger ones are the ones that concern me.
To add on to that, my age, the early 30s to early 40s, like the millennials, they're going into uniformity because of what they grew up on, and that's what they had to.
And
do
also
to be
working from
accepted.
home now.
And then you
they're
add
working from home,
on, you
then
add
you-
on working from home.
And you are like, that's also people have families, etc. So you're really in your family thing, and it's not community. And the community you have is online. And guess who you don't have to dress up for? The esoteric people in your head or
Right.
on your phone.
And then when you do go out once in a while, you're going for those community things like a ball game.
Right, where it's more
And
casual.
it's a little more
dress.
casual, and you wear a cute T-shirt, and so I think the lack of community, the messaging of conform and don't stand out, don't be too
Right,
much.
well, I've heard that all my life.
That
yeah.
has been a consistent message through all the generations in
Yes,
some way,
it
and then
is.
so now we're disconnected for different reasons
Yes.
because of that message.
Right.
And mine was, don't be too much. Don't be too loud. Like, don't dress
Right.
not like other people, or you might be called bad
Right,
words.
don't be so noticeable. I used to get
And
that.
so
Don't
then
be so noticeable.
you lack that community, and you try to conform, and then you kind of
Lose the community.
You lose, and then you lose the enthusiasm, or even just the connection that you should dress up how you want to.
Right,
right. You kind of lose that outward vision of self.
Yeah.
But the good news is, like we talked about in the last episode of our podcast, is I think we're starting to break out of that a little bit. And you know what? I hate to say this.
It's slowly and surely.
It's a little bit of a political slant, but in reality, with all the chaos that's happening right now in our government and everything else, I think it is going to start bringing people out again,
we
just
need
like it did in the
community.
60s and the
Yeah.
70s, where communities were built on civil rights and civil rights movements and protests and
we were
things
connecting
like that.
about our humanness.
We're
and
connecting
not
about our human experience, about our
Yeah.
shared experience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to start bringing people back together again. And hence, I think the need to now start expressing ourselves with our fashion as well too. So I think you're going to start seeing fashion take an evolution now.
I think that's really something. I think uniting against fascism
Right.
is one thing. I also think we are uniting against this idea of AI taking over, and so we're looking for much more
individuality and
human
being
feelings,
human.
and like understanding what it is even to be human in the age
Right.
of AI,
Right.
and what community means. In the
What's
age of
real, what's
fascism.
not real.
Yeah, it's
you know,
gonna be
it's
real
not waking up
interesting.
in the morning and seeing, like Erica was talking about, it's not so much about likes. You know, waking up and seeing how many likes did I get? How many people watch this reel?
Did
or
you get good reach?
Yeah, did you
Yeah.
get good? You know, your whole life can become about that. I mean, yesterday I literally got disconnected from my main Instagram page. I thought I was going to lose my mind. I literally spent 6 hours trying to retrieve that account. And at the end, when I finally got back in, I thought to myself, and this is very interesting, I thought to myself when I finally got back in, I thought, what was it that I thought I lost?
Oh. Ooh.
What was it that I actually thought I lost? I actually felt like this, like almost like a loss of part of me.
Yeah.
And that is scary when part of you starts to become the social media. But that's for another topic, another day.
Well, that is a good place to end this.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Erica, for coming.
You are a fabulous guest.
I
Yes.
love being here.
Yes,
We
you have
to-
such an interesting background, and we have to
Thank you.
definitely connect with you when you start your public relations.
We will.
Right. Well, 10 years from now, she's going to be
Well,
doing
no,
something
not-
completely different.
not in 10
actually,
years.
We're gonna say like, remember when you said this thing, and now you're the empress of I don't know what.
Yes.
It's going to start with a C though.
Yeah.
The empress of penguins.
of Thailand,
Yeah,
she's
right.
become.
Right. Yeah.
Erica the Empress. Ooh, that's my brand name.
Yeah.
Yes,
There we go.
Erica, and both of
Empress
these,
Erica.
good
Empress
alliteration.
Erica.
Just like-
yeah.
I do love alliteration.
Yes,
Well, that's
Erica,
always good.
Empress Erica.
PIPR, purses,
Everson,
penguins.
we'll take out the S. We won't call it Severson. We'll call it Everson, the Empress Erica.
I don't hate that. Actually.
Everson Erica, the Empress.
That's not
Stick
bad.
with us, kid. We'll
It's very vowely. It's very vowel.
Very vowely. That's my brand. Okay, Teddy, why don't we dress for dinner anymore?
I don't know. Why don't we?